So we will go to item 6C, which is a briefing of the Workforce Task Group update, which we have Council Vice President Escamilla, Councilmember Owens, and Councilmember Wright. I'll go with the chair and see what happens. Councilmember Owens.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so just a quick update. We met with ML Johnson and Associates LLC. And Mark Johnson and Gerald came to present. So they've backtrack a little bit. They've brokered a lot of these PLAs in the past, all over the country. Honestly, they worked in Seattle and did some there. And so they're an outside entity. They're not connected to any sort of labor organization or contractor, right? So what's I feel gainful about that is they don't have any other priorities besides just giving us the information on, how we could do the deal. A couple things that I want to touch on before I open it up for my colleagues. I don't want to steal all the thunder, so I know that they have some things they want to share too. Is some of the things that I learned from the workforce agreement, and I knew quite a bit already coming from my background, but obviously local priority hire is something that we can do, and that'd be prioritizing Lynnwood people, or we could go even bigger with that, which I'll touch on in a second as well, like a region kind of model. And we can also prioritize like high schoolers. So like we could say a certain percentage we would like to come from graduates that graduate from high schools. So going back to the regional model, what I was talking about there is because there could be a cost to an agreement, and everybody's in a budget crisis. So how we could combat that is by teaming up with some of the other cities in this area to team up on that. So that's 1.5 person that would be needed to hire to go do something like this could be split between 4 cities. So that cost now is a lot less on each individual city. Now that would have to be, those cities would also have to want to get in on some sort of agreement like this. So just sidebarring that, I just wanted to update you guys on what I learned on that. More is, so project labor agreements are the more traditional one, but a workforce agreement is what's becoming more popular because it's more of a partnership with the community, right? And it's a partnership with the contractors, a partnership with the community. What do we want from it, and how do we want it to benefit our community? And we can, be as aggressive or less aggressive as we want to be, and obviously depending on the city those things are going to be different, so we have different things that we're going to want, and so each agreement might be different by cities, but we just split the cost of that administration, right? Another thing too is we could also prioritize local contractors, which we can say if you're under a certain amount of staff level, they don't have to maybe abide by the more aggressive things that are asked from the contract, giving them a hand up, because we'd rather see our local people working. If it's a guy with his truck and his son working, right, I'd rather him hanging on the drywall in a build here than bringing some outside workforce. So those are kind of the things that I gravitated towards. We did include the presentation so everybody can go over it. I would like to see them come and present to the whole council at some point. That would be great. A part of including the presentation, and that could be decided by leadership on a later date as well. The reason we included the presentation is so that way, if council had anything they wanted to focus on, they could change this presentation by the time they got here, so that way we don't waste anybody's time, because we'd like to streamline it. There's a cost to all of this, even me talking right now. So let me open up to my colleagues so I don't steal all the thunder. Who wants to go first?
I was very thankful for the presentation. My background mostly, as most of you know, is more on the contract side and what do these documents look like. So when the mayor suggested this meeting, I initially went into I'm looking up everything mode so I can find out more about this organization, the people who are going to be coming to present. I had a ton of questions on how they present these community workforce agreements. How do they focus on local hires and diversity and risk management? And they answered everything that I had. One of the comments that I was going to make earlier today is that there were two articles in, one was through the Everett Herald and one was through the Lynnwood Times that were posted today. And for the Everett Herald, it was talking about therapeutic court, drug court basically. And then the article in Lynnwood Times was the overcrowding in the prison youth system. So one of my big things is recidivism and the constant going in and out of jail. Having this conversation with these two gentlemen was very inspiring. As Councilmember Owings was saying, prioritizing inclusion and diversity and disadvantaged workers, neighborhoods, targeting zip codes, the pre-apprenticeship programs. We have a lot of people in our city and frankly in cities everywhere who don't know what an outlet could be for them. Maybe a high school student, college is not for them. They don't understand that they're at home taking care of their siblings while their parents are working 2 jobs each. That college route doesn't always have to be something. My younger went to college in New York and was like, this is not for me. And now he's learning the trades. The trades will always be around. I like the options that we have. Again, this does take money and we are in a crunch, a huge crunch. But I think that the work is possible. I think the work is possible being able to move this type of work within a few different cities that are small and to kind of team up. So I'm excited. I'm excited that there's an opportunity for them to come to talk to council as a whole. I don't want to go through this whole presentation and mess it up of all of the amazing things that they said. So it would be great if they came back. But I see a real opportunity here for our community members. One of our big things is to work where you live and spend the money where you live. And these are not just jobs for right now. This is a career that you can have for the rest of your life, doing work in the city that you love. So it was quite exciting for me.
Thank you. And to wrap it in a bow, we met before we met with these consultants, and we're going to come up with a group of questions. Of course, Councilwoman Wright had a bunch of her questions from her contractual background, and Councilman Owings and I have a bit of construction and consulting background. So in our meeting, we realized, and we were going on all these tangents. One minute we were talking about the school board problems, the next minute we were talking about the youth council. But what we realized is that it all intersects, and this is the foundation and what's going to matter in the future from keeping these kids out of the street and giving them a future. And them saying like, hey, if I go over here, I can work on this project at Housing Hope. If I just go to Edmonds College for 2 years, they have a training program, and I know they're going to build the new Lynnwood Convention Center. It is hope for kids that wouldn't otherwise have any or don't have a car or the money to know that they can come to school here in our community and maybe even be called out for projects here. And so we just kind of laying that foundation. We met with these guys. I was only able to attend the first half of the meeting because then I had a Lynnwood Neighborhood Center obligation as the City of Lynnwood liaison. We had a list of all of our wants, and sure enough, we were actually going to request them to do a tailored presentation of our wish list and be like, let's see how much this costs us or what, have them kill our dreams and poke holes. But they were so on it that they sent us this ginormous PowerPoint that we've shared with you guys, and they presented it. They answered most of our questions. And then when we were asking about our wants, they were like, yep, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that. It was the latter part of the meeting where they discussed maybe joining forces with other communities. At the end of the day, they had their cost already figured out. It was 1.5 FTEs. Now, if we join forces with other cities, there would be more paperwork and more administration, so maybe it becomes 2 or 3. Maybe, depending on projects, it would be, you would look at your capital projects. But this could be a regional thing, and we've been talking about that with our animal control, with our street sweepers, with other things. So again, it intersects with the things that this council is aligned with. What we hope to come out of in the next few meetings with other stakeholders is drilling down on the impacts. We still want to meet with the AGC, we want to meet with developers and whatnot, because our wants come at a cost. Right? Like maybe we want to do where they get the apprentices out of Edmonds College or Edmonds School District only. Great. But someone is going to have, and so what we want is to put all the information in front of council before we present everything, and maybe drill down with you guys on what do you guys also want to see. We had a big wish list, and they were the ones that Councilwoman Wright listed, which is local hires, apprenticeships. We've seen a lot of businesses go and just put a satellite office in Tacoma because they have requirements that you have to have an office there. So we can also boost the economy and draw business to us if we do this correctly. But there's always a plus and a minus depending on what the industry says. And so that's where we want to be more educated, like we want to with our financial decisions. Like, how does that actually, it's the same thing on this front. Do we want to put utilizations in all of our projects moving forward where you have to have minority and women-owned businesses or, disadvantaged businesses? We have basically an a la carte of veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, maybe all of the Office of Women, all of them. And so we have an a la carte. It's basically going to be up to us as a council and as we get educated and present to you guys what is going to work best for us that isn't going to hurt the other side of the community to not come and want to take on projects here. But we've seen it be successful in Tacoma with the public schools and their city and the Port of Tacoma, and they collaborate and do a lot of projects together, and the school district. And so I think, did I miss anything, guys? No? I think that's everything. Thanks.
I just had a couple of other things. I know that we have a strong focus about the youth, but we have a lot of folks that are also in our community that are struggling anyway. And it's not just our young folks. We have people of all ages that are maybe transitioning to a different type of career because of layoffs, because of this, because of that. So this will be beneficial for a lot of different folks and a lot of different age groups and demographics. I did want to shout out Brady with the city of Lynnwood, who is a buyer, and he mostly works on small works projects, but he was able to send me a bunch of templates. There's some about minimum wage compliance. There's some other ones, small works contracts. Now, bigger projects, I'm a contract person, go through the departments. So I did receive a contact for Public Works on projects that they do. So that is another avenue that I could look at. But I did want to thank Brady for all the work that they did to get me what I needed.
I'll just close out with I would suggest that everybody goes over this when they have an opportunity, just so that way you guys are at least as educated as we are. That's kind of the whole point of the update. You guys can also feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions on your own as well. But yeah, this is just still kind of the beginning of it. Obviously, we got a lot more work to do, but yeah, at least we had a good update.
You guys have any questions?
Sure.
Are we allowed to answer
Let's
them?
try Councilmember Mata. She was first.
Thank you so much for all this. I feel like it was a lot of work, and you guys have been really doing your due diligence. I think I'm looking for essentially what your recommendation is about how we proceed in putting it in front of us. I think everything that you guys have said, I think would be incredible for our city, local hire specifically, anything that we can do to make it so that people working in Lynnwood can get jobs here in Lynnwood. Anything we can do at the college would also be great because we have some amazing resources here. So I'm really just looking towards you all on what your recommendation is and what next steps and things along those lines.
Councilmember Partial.
Thank you. Just some quick comments. Thank you to the committee for working on this and bringing it before us in this preliminary fashion today. And thank you for thinking creatively again about the finances. I'm really interested in that idea of, can we get a couple of cities, a few cities, 4 cities to combine on this and reduce the cost for everyone? So I think that's really out of the box, interesting thinking. I'm most curious maybe to hear more about that, because that's probably your biggest roadblock is answering some of those financial questions. What's this going to cost? What's it going to bring in? So I look forward to hearing more on that. Thank you all.
Anybody else? Council President.
Yes, great presentation, great update. I'm glad you guys finally reached out to Mark Johnson. I sent you guys that lead on him months ago, and I knew whenever you guys came in contact with him, it would be really helpful. I had a question related to the collaboration. So we do a kind of collaborative meeting with all the South County cities, and were there certain partners you were envisioning that would be most receptive to this kind of development? Because I can kind of work on discussing that with them.
Oh, just kind of off the top of our heads, we thought Edmonds, Malley Terrace, potentially Muckle Teal. Briar doesn't really have any major projects. I wouldn't really see them really wanting to jump on, but maybe Bothell, Mill Creek. Just kind of like the local people just right here around us. I mean, if we wanted to go bigger, but the thing is, the bigger you go, the harder it's going to get going. And it could be something that we start off with even one other city, right? And then we convince another city to jump on, and then another city, and eventually it gets lower and lower in cost. So it might, you probably have a lot more persuasion than I do, because you've been around a little bit more, and not persuasion, maybe that's not the best, but clout. Like, so people know you, so it would be great if you maybe did bring it up. I would love that. It would help us out tremendously. So, yeah, those are kind of what we thought about. Anybody else have
Put your
anything?
feelers out, Prez.
Yeah. I mean, Everett might be a little bigger than we are. We might not necessarily need to jump in with them, because they kind of got their own thing going already. So, that's kind of, I was thinking they might be too big for us. Let's little guys kind of stick together and group up.
So just to clarify, Everett already has a community workforce agreement? Okay. And it's been working well for them, as far as we know?
It's fairly new, but yes. I think it was last year when they passed it. So it's still new, but yeah, it seems to be working out. It's not very aggressive, but that might be a good way to start it, because we don't want to scare off the contractors either.
Another question then, and I know things are early, so this is like, if you're not that far, that's fine. But when you're talking about the scope of applying this, are we talking about mostly related to public works? Are we thinking to public projects? Are we thinking of applying this to the private sector? What thresholds are y'all considering, or at least what do you not have off the table?
So the public projects is what we're really focused on, but the private projects could jump on, but we would want it to be more of a partnership with them. So it would be we would incentivize them to jump on instead of trying to force any private contractor to do anything, because we don't want to scare them off. But if we can incentivize them to hire local people, we could show them that how it could actually benefit them as well. So.
And finally, go ahead.
It's just, I don't want to say simpler, but an easier bite if we start with the public sector, because there's not as many projects. But if you were asking me to wish, it would be all projects, because that's how you're really going to feed our economy and get people coming here. And that's where the stakeholder feedback is, because it matters. You know what I mean? If we don't have that many public projects amongst us, then is the juice worth the squeeze or whatever? And so we would want to assess that versus private, down the road. And we would definitely look to DBS, I think, and Public Works. They both deal and parks. I mean, all of their projects would. And our goal, honestly, is to maybe have something in place by the time the wastewater treatment plant project. Like, that's our internal kind of city goal, because if we can't do it in the private or other, we can do it to our own project at minimum. And so I think that's kind of our unofficial deadline, is to try to get something going by the time that actually is out to bid and hits the streets, because I think we have a few years.
Yeah. No, that's all great. I think starting with the public projects is probably the like you said, the smaller bite and something easier to start with. So great. Looking forward to new progress. Should we shoot for a couple months? What are y'all thinking? Okay, so we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay.
Councilor Armada.
Oh, I just had an idea that I don't know if it's entirely relevant, but if we can't, do a broad tent of all the people that we want this to include, maybe there's a way in which we could make it more accessible for people to find local businesses that they can hire, whether it's like not a job fair, but like a small business fair or something where it's like plumbers, electricians, like anybody who's got a small business here in Lynnwood, like we host an event with our small business team that we have and invite the public to come and really give people who are local a chance to showcase the work that they do. And maybe we can just expose them a little bit more to their target audience here in the city, even if it, we can't actually mandate it by policies. We can at least increase knowledge a little
You're
bit.
not dreaming.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. The city of Everett actually did one because they have their community workforce agreement and they need small business contractors and women and whatnot. They had like a whole meet and greet, and it was like the city, their chamber, and the AGC, and they invited all the small business contractors to meet basically the architect and the general, who would then be selecting all of their
I love that idea.
subs. And so that's a great idea for the future if we can get this going.
Yeah.
So, contracting days. There is an event that happens in Lynnwood, and it's through the Economic Alliance, and it's at the Lynnwood Convention Center. And for people who are vending there, there's a cost, of course. But if you are a contractor looking for opportunities to do work within your city or within your state, that's where you migrate to. So there's all of these types of events. The one up here, again, is through Economic Alliance. There's ones in Seattle. I've been to a few in Spokane for the east side of the state. So these type of opportunities do exist, but also DBS would be really great because what they've been doing previously is an opportunity for people to come in, and then there's no cost around that. But a lot of people just don't know how to do how to get connected with your municipality or your state to do work. So having that opportunity and those educational opportunities are going to be critical for our local businesses.
Anything else? No, this is good, and even better. The last time we tried to do this with a task group, there was some pushback from the former administration, and you're not having that now. Yeah, and the county does. County also has a CWA ordinance to look at. All right, very good.